TKO Group Holdings, the merger of WWE and UFC under Endeavor, has introduced a highly corporate-driven approach to WWE's operations that has significantly altered the company's traditional creative and business philosophies. The primary issue lies in the shift of priorities, where financial performance, shareholder satisfaction, and lucrative partnerships are now the cornerstones of every major decision. This constant focus on commercial viability has gradually sidelined the essential core that once defined WWE, its unique blend of compelling storytelling, emotional rivalries, and the organic growth of homegrown talent into global superstars. Longtime fans increasingly feel alienated as the programming becomes centered more on market strategies than on genuine wrestling narratives. The obsession with profitability has created an environment where long-term story arcs are sacrificed in favor of quick revenue-generating stunts. The company's dependence on part-time performers and celebrities has only grown under this new management. Instead of focusing on elevating the next generation of full-time stars, TKO's leadership tends to favor predictable returns of older names and celebrity guests whose appearances are largely detached from the weekly show's continuity. These guest appearances, while intended to bring mainstream attention, rarely have lasting effects on the overall product and instead clutter key events, leaving less room for the full-time roster to shine. Additionally, the repeated prioritization of mega events in international markets demonstrates a widening disconnect from the weekly fan base. Deals with overseas governments, particularly in regions where the company holds large-scale premium events, often come with creative compromises. These shows tend to favor spectacle over substance, featuring predictable match results and lackluster storytelling, all while overshadowing regular programming. Domestic fans often struggle to remain invested in narratives that are interrupted or sidelined to cater to these shows, ultimately weakening the core product. Another detrimental aspect of the TKO era is the rampant cost-cutting masked as operational optimization. Despite WWE's massive revenue streams from television rights and international deals, the company has shown a willingness to slash its roster and backstage personnel at alarming rates. These decisions, presented as financial prudence, have far-reaching creative consequences. When promising talent is discarded simply for marginal profit increases, the overall depth of the roster shrinks, leaving fewer options for fresh storylines and new matchups. This revolving door culture makes it difficult for fans to emotionally invest in newer talent, knowing they could be released on short notice. The creative environment under TKO's influence has also become increasingly risk-averse. Writers are now tasked with producing content that appeals broadly to advertisers and corporate partners rather than focusing on producing compelling wrestling television. This creates a sterile product where characters are rarely allowed to deviate from sanitized scripts, and segments feel meticulously rehearsed rather than spontaneous and exciting. The heavy-handed scripting dilutes the authenticity that made wrestling resonate with audiences in the first place. Organic character development, once the hallmark of WWE's biggest stars, is now nearly extinct in favor of heavily manufactured personas that lack emotional depth. Compounding the creative stagnation is the company's fixation on statistical achievements and manufactured history-making moments. Matches and feuds are routinely promoted not for their narrative significance, but because they break some arbitrary record or milestone. This obsession with numbers has sucked the passion out of many rivalries, reducing them to trivia rather than emotionally engaging conflicts. Fans are now expected to tune in because a match will make history, not because it has compelling stakes or well-developed characters. This approach creates a shallow viewing experience devoid of meaningful attachment. Furthermore, the erosion of fan interaction and engagement has become more apparent. WWE under TKO has increasingly moved away from listening to the audience's organic reactions, instead forcing predetermined pushes and angles regardless of crowd reception. This top-down philosophy leads to fans feeling ignored, as their preferences are consistently overlooked in favor of corporate interests. It has become common for certain performers to be pushed despite widespread audience disapproval, simply because they align with the company's broader branding strategy or fit specific demographic targets favored by advertisers. The growing detachment from the live audience is another pressing concern. Crowd reactions are increasingly manipulated through artificial crowd noise and camera tricks, creating a false sense of enthusiasm that doesn't reflect the genuine response of fans in attendance. This practice undermines the organic relationship between performers and the audience, making it difficult for wrestlers to gauge their popularity or adjust their performances accordingly. The result is a sterile viewing experience that feels disconnected from the passionate atmosphere that once characterized WWE shows. Additionally, WWE's focus on brand partnerships has led to an excessive integration of product placements and cross-promotional segments that disrupt the flow of shows. These marketing tie-ins often feel forced and detract from the wrestling itself, with awkward segments shoehorned into broadcasts solely to fulfill corporate obligations. This approach further diminishes the integrity of the product, reducing wrestling to a vehicle for advertising rather than an art form in its own right. The company's over-reliance on social media metrics as a barometer for success is also problematic. Rather than focusing on meaningful fan engagement or storytelling depth, WWE now prioritizes viral moments and online trends that often have little lasting significance. This fixation on short-term digital attention leads to programming decisions that favor spectacle over substance, sacrificing long-term investment in characters and storylines in favor of fleeting internet buzz. The handling of returns and debuts has also suffered under TKO's corporate structure. Surprise moments, once a thrilling aspect of WWE television, are now frequently spoiled through pre-announced appearances or heavy-handed marketing campaigns. The element of surprise has been replaced by carefully orchestrated promotional pushes designed to maximize media coverage, often at the expense of genuine fan excitement. This trend has drained much of the unpredictability from WWE programming, making major moments feel more like corporate events than organic surprises. Moreover, the erosion of mid-card relevance has accelerated during the TKO era. Intercontinental and United States title programs, once hotbeds for rising stars, are now frequently overlooked or hastily booked with little creative effort. The mid-card has been relegated to filler status, with champions rarely receiving consistent storylines or meaningful rivalries. This devaluation weakens the overall structure of WWE's programming, as there are fewer avenues for talent to gain momentum before entering the main event scene. Talent morale has also reportedly suffered due to the corporate environment fostered by TKO. Wrestlers now face increased pressure to conform to brand mandates and corporate expectations, with little creative input allowed in their presentation. This has led to frustration among performers, many of whom feel stifled and unable to fully express their characters. The loss of creative autonomy erodes passion within the roster, resulting in more robotic performances and a noticeable lack of enthusiasm during promos and matches. The effects of TKO's leadership on WWE continue to spread throughout every facet of the company, from its production methods to its creative vision. One of the most glaring issues stems from the homogenization of the WWE product, where every show increasingly feels the same. Weekly programming like Raw and SmackDown, which were once distinctly unique in their presentation, atmosphere, and storytelling, now share nearly identical visual designs, pacing, and match structures. This uniformity strips the shows of their individual identities, making it difficult for viewers to feel any excitement about tuning into multiple broadcasts within the same week. The removal of brand-specific nuances erodes fan engagement, leaving behind a product that feels repetitive and uninspired. Along with the visual and thematic homogenization, WWE under TKO has accelerated the erosion of meaningful character arcs. Character development has largely been reduced to surface-level changes, with performers suddenly switching alignments or motivations without logical progression. These abrupt shifts are usually driven by corporate objectives, such as promoting a toy line, video game, or network special, rather than a natural evolution of the character's journey. This artificial character progression makes it increasingly difficult for fans to emotionally invest in the performers, as they can no longer rely on consistent storytelling or believable motivations to guide their viewing experience. In addition to this, WWE's growing obsession with moments rather than stories continues to diminish the long-term satisfaction of the product. Under TKO's corporate direction, major pay-per-views and even weekly shows are increasingly centered around creating isolated viral clips and highlight real moments that can be shared across social media and news outlets. While these fleeting spectacles may temporarily capture attention, they rarely contribute to sustained narratives or emotional investment. As a result, the company's programming often feels disjointed, with shocking moments presented without the proper context, making it harder for fans to stay connected to the long-term product. Another major downside of TKO's management is its over-reliance on external media deals at the expense of fan-centric creative decisions. With WWE deeply committed to maximizing profits from streaming partnerships, television deals, and international government agreements, the emphasis on building engaging wrestling television has taken a back seat. Instead of prioritizing compelling week-to-week storytelling that drives fan loyalty, the company increasingly focuses on making programming palatable for media executives and business partners. This approach can often lead to bland, sanitized shows that are strategically designed for easy syndication, but lack the passion, energy, and unpredictability that originally drew fans to wrestling. A significant consequence of this media-driven strategy is the prioritization of celebrity involvement over actual wrestling content. Under TKO's leadership, WWE has increased its focus on bringing in celebrities, social media influencers, and athletes from other sports to create crossover appeal. While this tactic might generate publicity, it often comes at the cost of marginalizing full-time talent and damaging the credibility of WWE's core product. The overuse of celebrities sends the message that actual wrestling talent is secondary, which diminishes the value of the performers who dedicate their lives to the industry. Furthermore, celebrity segments often occupy large chunks of airtime, resulting in rushed matches and half-baked storylines that fail to deliver meaningful progression for the roster. The fixation on short-term financial performance has also resulted in the company's talent being increasingly overexposed, which harms their ability to connect with audiences in a meaningful way. Wrestlers are often booked in repetitive matches week after week without substantial character development or storyline evolution. This repetitive exposure not only leads to audience fatigue, but also damages the performer's long-term appeal, as they are placed in creatively stagnant situations that leave fans disinterested. The absence of long-term planning prevents meaningful rivalries from forming, as every match and promo feels designed to fill time rather than advance a significant narrative. Moreover, WWE's commitment to appeasing advertisers and corporate sponsors has resulted in a product that is overly cautious and devoid of creative risk-taking. Many of the company's most iconic eras were defined by their willingness to push boundaries and take risks with characters, storylines, and match types. However, under the TKO umbrella, WWE has become increasingly sanitized, with promos and segments carefully filtered to avoid offending any potential business partners. This risk-averse approach results in storylines that feel watered down and predictable, removing the excitement and unpredictability that once set WWE apart from other entertainment properties. Additionally, the increasing reliance on analytics and data-driven decision-making has led to a product that feels mechanical and soulless.